Thank you for joining us. I'm with Serge Giampetrone from SGI Consulting Group, and we'll be talking about self-managed super funds. Serge, can you tell us something about self-managed super funds?
Yes, self-managed super fund is no different in many ways than the ordinary superannuation fund that you access through MLC, Colonial First State, BT, whoever they happen to be. The key aspect of it is that you become the responsible entity when it comes to self-managed super funds.
So why would somebody want to take added responsibility for their super rather than leaving it to somebody else?
In some cases, it's the perceived control that they think they will have over their money. And I say perceived because people think that they can do just about anything they want within superannuation, and in particular once they have their self-managed super fund. The realities of it are far from that. There are some very restrictive guidelines that they must follow. And if they don't follow them, the fund can, and in most cases will be penalised from the regulator, which happens to be our favourite regulator, the Australian Taxation Office.
So you're saying that anyone who was seeking to use a self-managed super fund should be actually accessing expert advice?
Yes, definitely. But first and foremost is, why do I want a self-managed super fund?
That's a good question. Why do you need a self-managed super fund?
Well, one of the reasons is I might want to invest in direct property. I want to be a direct investor. I like to buy the factory that I work in, that my business is running from. The only way you can effectively do that is through a self-managed super fund. I want to have more control over the type of shares, because I've spent a lot of time studying shares, and I think that I'm reasonably apt at being able to deliver that service to my own super fund.
And SGI Consulting Group, would they help somebody should they decide that they wanted to invest in shares?
Yes, we certainly do. We help with every aspect of a self-managed super fund. It is an area that we do specialise in. And whether it's a property, whether it's actually wanting to set one up, whether you should or shouldn't, based on the goals that you want to achieve, we'll guide you through it. We'll also make sure that we are with you every step of the way, so that you are compliant as far as the Australian Taxation Office is concerned.
Okay. There's a number of things that we've discussed which I'd like to sort of tease out and clarify. So the first thing is, you would use a self-managed super fund if you wanted to access investment assets which you couldn't through a public offer fund, like buying your own factory.
Correct.
You've mentioned compliance. I'll come back to that. We've clarified that it's a very complex area and probably something that should not be self-managed, amazingly, even though it's in the term. Is that a fair comment?
It is a fair comment, and what most trustees, because you will become the trustee of your fund, don't really understand, is that you are the person that is responsible for everything that occurs in that fund, regardless as to whom you have subcontracted the tasks of managing the fund to.
Okay, so as the trustee of a self-managed super fund, if something goes wrong, where does the buck stop?
With you, the trustee.
Okay, so if you bought the wrong asset, what would happen?
Well, any losses as a result of that assets are borne by you. If that asset was not a non-approved asset, then the non-compliance of the fund is borne by you and the fund.
Okay, we're coming back to the word compliance, which is nice. It's segued beautifully. Tell me a little bit about the compliance burden and how SGI Consulting Group would aid a client with a self-managed super fund to overcome those obstacles.
Okay, first thing is, compliance is an issue that the tax office of late has been focusing extremely hard on it. They've gone through a education process, a mentoring process in many cases. Now that process has pretty much stopped. Their views are, we've guided you long enough, now it's time that you apply the laws as they are meant to be applied in self-managed super fund. And there are a number of them. The fund's got to be audited, when the returns have to be put in, investment strategies in place, the various assets you can or cannot purchase within a self-managed super fund. So there are a number of technical issues that must be addressed on an ongoing basis. What we at SGI Consulting Group do is we actually dovetail into what you need to do. And we actually guide you through a process, and we'll advise you as to whether or not a particular asset or particular strategy you wish to implement is an appropriate one for your self-managed super fund.
Okay, so really, although we're talking about self-managed super fund as a speciality of SGI Consulting Group, what you're actually saying is it's still financial planning, and it still encompasses clients' goals and all of the things that are involved with that. Would that be a true comment?
I think you couldn't have put it better if I tried. It's exactly what that is. It's financial planning of the fund itself within the tax laws that apply at the time.
And there's other strategies that are common, such as transition to retirement. Do you utilise those in relation to your self-managed super fund clients also?
Yes, we do. The self-managed super fund gives you the extra dimension to that of a retail fund. Having said that, it doesn't mean that you would go into a self-managed super fund because you want that because you feel that that extra dimension is good. If you don't need it, why have the headaches of managing your own fund?
So with people with a large amount of money, often it's cheaper to have a self-managed super fund. But you're actually saying that unless there's a clear reason for setting up a fund, that you wouldn't recommend it?
You're right. Cost would be one aspect of it, because what you have to determine is, am I prepared to have that responsibility put on my shoulders? I'm 65, 67 years of age. Do I want those headaches? Okay, I might be saving $1,000 in administration fees. Is that really worth it for me to go from a public offer fund to a self-managed super fund? If I'm saving $10,000, then it puts a different weight on the discussion.
Okay, so if somebody is out there watching the video and saying, oh, a self-managed super fund sounds fine, how would you help somebody who thought it was a good idea to work through the issues and help them make a decision whether it actually works for them or not?
Well, the first thing we do is we actually sit down with them, obviously, and determine how much have they got.
True.
I've seen many people approach me wanting a self-managed super fund with $30,000 and saying they want to build a property. Well, it doesn't make sense. For a start, it's cheaper to be in a retail fund or public offer fund with $30,000 than what it is to be in your own self-managed super fund. Two, with $30,000, you're not going to be able to buy a property. It's going to take a long time. So the focus there actually revolves on, let's maximise what you have. Let's see how much we can grow that fund to a level where it becomes viable to then go into a self-managed super fund.
So you're saying, in fact, that if somebody has a desire to have a self-managed super fund and a good reason but not enough money, you'll work with them to get to the point where they can utilise that flexibility to their financial life.
Very much so, because that's what SGI Consulting Group is all about. It's about assisting people in achieving their goals.
So Serge, somebody who's seen the video and says, Serge is pretty smart, I think I might need a self-managed super fund, I'll rock up to SGI Consulting Group. What's the process for them?
Okay, well, we'll sit down with you, analyse your circumstances, detail what we need to do, and from there we'll come up with a cost structure. But that will be non-committal on your part. So the consultation will be completely free.
Okay, well, that's a good price, Serge.
Yes, I think so.
We've got to thank Serge for clarifying issues around self-managed super funds, and the best point at the end is that SGI Consulting Group will consult with you to determine whether a self-managed super fund is for you or not. Should it be decided that it's not, then they'll weigh the costs. An offer too good to refuse. Thank you for joining us.